I kind of have stayed away from the subject because it just feels like it's so far out. That being Giannis Antetokounmpo's free agency, and the Warriors. Every team in the league is going to do their due diligence, flirt with Giannis, and see if they can make it happen, right? But several people hit me up and wanted my kind of more of a formal take on how I feel about this Giannis scenario. And again, it's this time of the year with trades and everything, dealing in hypotheticals. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I understand that it's fun as well. So but doing what I do, people want to hold you to it. Like, hey, you said that trade, that trade's ridiculous. Well, man, we're just playing around here. We're just playing around here. Okay, so let's start with the All-Star game where Giannis was one of the team captains alongside LeBron, I guess, right? It was LeBron and Giannis, or was it KD? I don't remember. No, it was LeBron and Giannis. Giannis took Steph first, right? Remember the big bounce pass alley-oop, and you could see that they were kind of vibing, right? And I want to, before I get into the different, the trade scenarios and the cap room and all that is too far out. It remains to be seen. Let's talk about Giannis's personality, because I think that's what matters most. And I think that's also why Milwaukee I think for everything I've heard is Milwaukee is not going to trade him. They are going to ride it until the wheels fall off, a la Kevin Durant, Oklahoma City. Like they're going to just wait till the last second unless, he actually comes out and says it. So we don't know that. But I want to take a look at Giannis's personality, him not being American, right? Is he Nigerian by way of Greece? Is he Nigerian, or is he, anyway, I should know. But, obviously he grew up in Greece, but he's African. But it shows that he is an immigrant, his immigrant mentality. I've talked about this many times. Remember, a story broke. It didn't break, but it was reported. It's been reported several times that during the summertime, Durant, LeBron, I believe even Kawhi's people had reached out to Giannis various summers, like, hey, let's be workout buddies, And there is a fraternity of superstars in the NBA, right? And they all kind of hang out and they're chummy, and it goes beyond the Banana Boat Boys. That started with Chris Paul, Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Melo, right? But those guys are kind of aged out of the league. But there's KD, Kyrie, Paul George, Kawhi does his own thing. But I've even seen photos of Kawhi working out with KD. These dudes, there's a little bit of a fraternity. And Giannis was like, I really don't want any part of it. He didn't want any part of it. He had said it. He views them as rivals, as competition. He doesn't want to be friends with them. Now, Steph is not part of that fraternity. Right. And you have to say that the leader of that fraternity is LeBron. A lot of it takes place in Los Angeles, LeBron and KD. Right. And remember, you read a report. Someone had sent me, my guy Rory had sent me a text about how the LeBron Steph dislike is very real. LeBron dislikes Steph Curry. I've read that several times, and it's easy to see why, right? Steph Curry is the one that's kind of taken LeBron's chance at surpassing Michael Jordan away from him. That's what it is. So I get it from a competitive standpoint, right? But Steph, and I'm gonna get a little out of bounds here with this. Steph and Clay, I think, are treated within this fraternity as perhaps not black enough. Now, obviously, they're both biracial, very light-skinned, like myself, right? But I've always got that feeling. I think it goes a little beyond the privilege of their fathers being NBA players. I think just culturally speaking, I think that KD, LeBron, and all these dudes low-key feel like, man, they ain't real brothers, if you will, right? Because there is an element of that. And Steph has never been welcomed into that summertime workout fraternity thing. And maybe part of it is his choice. He's wanted to do his own thing. Part of it is shoe deals. They're Nike boys as well. So there's various reasons why, but I've always felt that way. Part of the Steph hate around the league to go along with the success and dominance has been an element of like, you ain't really a brother, man. You ain't like that. And I think Clay could care less either. I don't think it bothers either of them really. I think they're both comfortable in their identities, but Clay is just something else too, right? But I say that to say that Giannis, like a lot of African immigrants, don't necessarily identify with Black American culture, for the culture. I'm going to do this for the culture. And some of the things that go along with that, right? And I can speak, I've spoken on this many times, as I was raised by African immigrants. And there's sort of a say what you mean, do what you say type of transparency that I think is not part of American culture and Black culture. And I've noticed even like in my following, my patrons and in YouTube, I think that I have a lot of support, I notice, from people outside of the country, New Zealand, Australia, Thailand, just all over Africa. I think I have a disproportionate amount of support from outside of the United States, which I'm very grateful for. And I think it's in part because, again, I'm transparent. It's not a lot of fluff, right? I just hop right into the subject matter. I'm not telling you about like some vacation I wanted to go on, you know what I mean? I hop right in, and I think that is something that other cultures appreciate more. And so I go back again to Giannis not necessarily vibing with those boys. And let me go back to who I'll name in that kind of clique of Nike boys and that elite fraternity, because with Steph, with Clay, and even with Draymond, who is a part of that Nike fraternity, what you see is what you get, right? It's transparency. There's not a lot of guessing with these guys, right? On and off the court. Now, let's look at this clique of LeBron, Kawhi, Paul George, KD, Kyrie, right? You can't say this. You can't say the same for those guys, right? There's a whole lot of passive aggressive, he said, she said. There's just look at the history of issues amongst those guys with different teams, right? And I wouldn't have clumped Paul George in there up until a few years ago, but there's extra stuff. There's extra work in being teammates with them. It's not as easy to read these guys and stuff like that. And so it's kind of ironic, right? Steph is an outsider to the elite crew, right? And he gets hated on. But would that be the very thing that attracts Giannis to him? Because I don't think Giannis identifies Steph as direct competition, as he does a Kawhi, a LeBron, a Paul George maybe. And in part positionally, right? Like they're forwards, they're big wings, they're guys that actually match up against each other. Durant, right? Where Steph's a guard, they're not really on each other. But I think it goes beyond the basketball court into just a mentality, a personality thing. It was very clear that All-Star Weekend. That's when I think the rumors really started to pick up, right? It was that All-Star Weekend where you're like, yo, Giannis and Steph like each other. It's just natural because it's a what you see is what you get relationship, right? There's no weird shit. And I think that's the most important thing as far as that relationship and why it seems like it could be a strong possibility. Now, you get into the organization, San Francisco. We've already pulled it off once with Durant, essentially. So I think that also makes people more wary of the situation or more thinking that it could happen. I didn't realize, I just got done with that Marquise Chris video on, waving him to sign Damian Lee, the promises that was made, and suggesting that there is an element of nepotism, and I want to say there's an element of nepotism in every major franchise or organization worldwide, I believe. And so I'm not saying like it's a special thing. That's just how the world works, man. That's how the world works. But what I did not realize was Damian Lee has the same agent as Giannis. So they definitely wanted to make good on Damian Lee's contract. Now, I'm not saying Damian Lee and Giannis have a relationship, but if it's the same agent and they had made him a promise, that may play into more of the decision than anything else, to be honest with you. And then, of course, the other night when Milwaukee visited, it was Greek night, right, at the stadium. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of little nuanced things that the Warriors organization is doing behind the scenes to put themselves in place. And, I think that it goes without saying much, and I'm gonna touch on this in a little bit, the Ben Simmons rumors here. And y'all know, patrons, I might have even, like, those of you that were, remember when we were doing the summertime live free agency? And by the way, I'm going to do some more lives here in 2020. I know I haven't been doing them, and I'm trying to balance this out of trying to get all this content out and do this without burning myself out. But remember sitting with me live during free agency, and when the D'Lo rumors started to trickle in, and it was priceless, right? My reaction of I was shocked. I thought y'all were fucking with me. I was like, no, it ain't happening, right? It might have even been like the day we got D'Lo. If it wasn't the day, it was within the week we got D'Lo that I was like, yo, Ben Simmons for D'Lo, right? I don't want to do too much of a victory lap on this one. And it hasn't even happened yet. But I just think it's funny that the media now, it's like everybody's jumping on this, and everybody's like, wow, now that I think about that trade, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, man. That's why you rock with your boy, man, because I brought it up like 4 months ago. Anyway, back to Giannis and his fit with the Warriors. I don't really have to spell out the fit on the court. You know what I mean? Like, you put Giannis with the best shooting backcourt of all time, more spacing than he could ever have, right? But back to the personality thing. I think that Steph and Klay, again, what you see is what you get, low maintenance guys, and they have already proven that they're fine kind of taking a back seat and welcoming in another superstar. They're fine sharing the spotlight. A lot of people will tell you that LeBron is doing it right now out of necessity with Anthony Davis. But they have a proven track record of just playing ball, right? And fitting in more talent and not complaining about touches in the spotlight. So that's another thing going for the Warriors. Here's my biggest thing of why I think it won't happen. And again, right now I'm operating under the assumption that it's not a trade. Giannis will play out till 2021 summer, where Giannis will become a free agent. Okay, in 2021, that upcoming season, Steph will be turning 34 and Klay Thompson will be turning 32. And so if it's an up for grabs free agency, we all have heard Miami, New York, of course, LA as teams, right? Everybody's trying to leave cap space for that summer. I think the biggest threat is going to be the Dallas Mavericks, right? Because it's like, okay, Giannis, as much as you like Steph, are you going to play with the 34-year-old Steph in the twilight of his prime, or a prime Luka Doncic? And again, revisit culturally, right? They've got that Euro mix over there with KP, and it's a different vibe in Dallas. It's not that LeBron or Kawhi thing. It's not that, right? And so I think that they possibly could get along as well, being culturally not American. I mean, y'all think that's silly, that cultural thing. But I'm just pointing that out. I think Dallas is the biggest threat in free agency. I also think that the Warriors, they've proven to think one step ahead. Is that in part why they want to hold on to D'Lo? I mean, there's various reasons. I don't think they knew they were getting D'Lo until they got him, right? But you look at the windows. I think the Warriors front office understands that, yeah, right now it fits perfect. 2 seasons from now, the windows aren't exactly sunk up for Giannis to play with Steph and Klay, right? And so in part, are they going to hold on to D'Lo in case, just as a selling point, right? And I guess that would be the biggest question. How will they try to alter their roster to make it more appealing for Giannis? And that goes for all these teams. Now, let me get back to the LA teams. Obviously, the Lakers, the Clippers, they're going to make their bids, and they're going to try to lure him and try to make the room. But I think why they're really going to struggle, there's two reasons. One, most of all, there's a good chance that one of those teams, maybe they split, maybe they both have a chip by then. Does that 20? Yeah, so it's essentially 2 seasons from now, right? They're in championship contention right now. So it's hard for both the Clippers and the Lakers to really plan their roster that far ahead. They can't keep, like, just for instance, the Kyle Kuzma situation. And I'm not suggesting that Kuzma fits that great with Giannis, but let's just say he did, right? But right now, they've got to worry about winning a championship right now, the Lakers. And so they can't hold on to Kuzma just because, he may fit with Giannis in 2021. They have to focus right now with their championship window with LeBron right now. And the same could be said for the Clippers. Now, I know that Paul and Kawhi's deals are up that summer, and they could move off them and bring in Giannis. But again, I just don't think if you look at Giannis's personality, turning down those workouts, I don't think he wants any part of teaming up with that Nike clique, even though he's Team Nike as well. And I think that it also, the optics of if those teams are championship teams at that point, if one or both of them have won a ring here in the next 2 seasons, does he want to join a championship team? The same I would say is if this, let's just say this scenario was with the Warriors coming off championships, I don't think Giannis would join them. So I think that works against the LA teams. I think that, again, so Dallas is my favorite in free agency. But I also think that it's far enough away that we have to look at these other young players and at what point, where are they at then? Have any of these young guys taken a step into superstardom in their primes? Meaning a Trae Young. Are they still in their current locations? Right? Let's say Donovan Mitchell takes that step into superstardom. Giannis is probably not going to Utah, but at this point, have they been moved? You kind of anticipate, like Donovan Mitchell, you don't foresee him playing his career out in Utah, right? So Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell, what does Ja Morant look like? What is Devin Booker at this point? Jason Tatum. Have any of them taken a big enough step forward to now where they're in 23, 24, 25 years old, where they're that appealing to where Giannis may team up with one of those guys? Even though it appears that Giannis, again, doesn't seem like a team-up guy. Now, the other scenario, obviously, would be a trade. It doesn't, and it doesn't feel like he's going to do this, right? And to be honest with you, I know you've seen these packages of, okay, the pick, D'Lo, and Eric Pascal, and future this, that, for Giannis. I don't even think... And look, unless this year's pick turns into like an immediate star player, like Wiseman just comes out balling, Anthony Edwards comes out balling, and I'm gonna get to those prospects here at some point here before the draft. Don't worry about that, y'all. But unless one of those guys becomes an immediate star, I don't even think the Warriors have the best package in a trade. Now, that being said, Giannis, if this became the scenario, it would more than likely become an Anthony Davis scenario where he's forcing his way to a team, essentially, right? He's like, Boston could say, we're going to give you Jason Tatum, this is just off the cuff, Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, and 3 first-round picks. But if, Giannis says he doesn't want to go to Boston, he doesn't want to go to Boston. So you know how that works. We've seen this play out several times where it's not necessarily the team with the best deal. It's where that superstar is interested in playing. The thing with, we've heard a lot about Miami wanting to be involved in this. And yes, they have a Tyler Hero. They have a Bam Adebayo. I don't project them to ever be good enough of a draw to pair with another player. Like, they're never going to be Steph Curry. They're never going to be Klay Thompson, those guys down there. They're nice potential star players. Bam might even make an all-star game this year, but I don't think that they're going to have, Jimmy Butler ain't getting it done. And, who knows what other moves they could make, but I don't foresee them having the cast to lure. Is it lure or lure? It's lure, right? Giannis to Miami. You're always going to hear the Knicks, right? But again, unless RJ Barrett becomes Tracy McGrady or something, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see them having, the players there to make it appealing. So, ultimately, do I see this happening? I don't. I don't. And I was laughing at my guy on Twitter, and not laughing like, maliciously, but he was shooting me trades, and I think our roster was like Steph, Clay, Ben Simmons, Giannis, and Wiseman, and it's like, yo, like, come on now. And I understand a lot of the younger fans or people that became fans of the Warriors during this run, you kind of have a distorted view of like what's possible. Understand that when we got Durant, I don't think you're ever going to see a team like that that has that much star power. It was almost impossible. It was like a loophole in the system, and so you have to have a little more realistic expectations. I'm not throwing it out the window. I think, there's a possibility. Would I bet on it? I don't. I think it's probably like a 20-25% chance that the Warriors land Giannis. Now, what I think is more likely is a Ben Simmons or a Karl Anthony Towns or one of these young players that I just mentioned that are still on a rookie deal, a Donovan Mitchell, right? A Jason Tatum, a Jaylen Brown. They got extended, right? But one of these guys that doesn't have the pull to force their way out, but is still on their smaller deal. I am confident in the Warriors front office I think they're going to run it back. I mean, we've discussed this before, what the move is. Are they sitting on D'Lo? I think they still have to figure that out. But I'm confident in the retooling process of what they're going to do and making another run here with Steph and Clay and Draymond's window, which I would say is another 2 or 3 years, right? But the Giannis thing, I don't think it's as realistic as maybe people think. It's fun to play with.
I've been winning so long, it's like alchemy.